Welcome to Cybersecurity Awareness TV, episode number 427, recorded April 15th, 2023. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I am your cybersecurity researcher and consultant. If this is the first time you have seen our show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV is dedicated to help keep you informed of the latest technology, what's going on in cybersecurity, threats, and ways you can protect yourself from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century. I would like to thank you for being part of our show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV, and helping you put together our promotions here and our information about how to protect yourself from cyber attacks. I also wanted to give a shout out to all my students at DeVry University watching our show as well, and all the listeners across the world. If you'd like to find out more information about my show here, Cybersecurity Awareness TV, you could find me at MacJacksonJr.com. That's MacJacksonJr.com. Also, folks, remember on social media to share, like, and subscribe to our show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV. You can also find me on the Patreon channel as well at patreon.com/MacJacksonJr. Our show, folks, have definitely reached a growing number here on WWDBTV. And if you would like to be a part of it, be a sponsor of our show, you can do that as well. Contact our offices at 702-868-0808. Now, in today's episode, we're going to discuss the evolving landscape of cybersecurity. I have a guest to join me in my second segment that we're going to discuss document management and some of the threats that are going on with leaks with information we will discuss today. In our first segment, we're going to talk about the evolving threats of cyber crimes and information that's been leaked across the world, according to reports in our media. Our research here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV focuses on the critical role of the human factor when it comes to cyber crimes and cyber attacks. As technology advances, threats become more and more sophisticated. It's essential that we recognize the sophistication of these types of threats and take security actions and preventions to protect our data assets. The recent news regarding the data links from the Pentagon serves as a striking reminder that potential consequences affect the human factor. My guest today will share a valuable insights on how we can protect ourselves from these types of cyber threats and give us another perspectives regarding data management and document management as well. We will touch on real-world case stories and ways that you could prevent these types of data leaks. And also, we're going to talk about the actual Pentagon leak as well. So whether you are a small business, an IT professional, or just someone concerned about these types of data leaks, this is definitely a show that you should stay tuned for and learn. You can learn something from how to protect your business, because if it happens to a large entity like the federal government or Pentagon, it could happen to your small business as well. The Justice Department recently announced that they identified an individual by the name of Jack Teixeira, a 21-year-old airman from Massachusetts National Guard. This individual was responsible for leaking dozens of classified documents from an online chat. This online chat is something that gamers utilize. I believe the online chat was called Discord. And this Discord site was a major part of this types of data that's been spread regarding this leak. The National Security Advisor stated that the incident causing this leak compromised lots of information regarding the Ukrainian and Russian war that's going on in classified documents, and also can threaten the lives of our foreign agents that could be working with Russia and other foreign adversaries as well. So this is definitely something that this young person should not have been involved in. Now, this Teixeira held a high-level security clearance, right? And is accused of this classified information having unauthorized access to this. He was an IT person. So those of my students who are listening to me right now that are in IT, they're looking for this type of security clearance, we talk about morals and ethics, and this is an example of morals and ethics that you should definitely look into because of this particular issue here. The documents that were stolen contain sensitive information from the military operations, advanced technologies, and intelligence gathering methods by foreign adversaries as well our allies. The extent of this damage of this leak is still being investigated, and it's still under concern by the national security and international affairs and relationships. The investigation of Teixeira will be ongoing, and it's forcing the Joint Action Committee from the FBI to Department of Defense and other federal agencies to investigate the extent of this particular leak. This individual here, Teixeira, is going to be facing a plethora of different criminal charges, including espionage, theft of government property, and authorized access to disclosing classified information. If he's convicted, he can face a hefty prison sentence and significant fines. In the case of, it raises a question and measures when it comes to cybersecurity and who has access to the data and how are individuals vetted. Now, again, we're talking a governmental access here of an individual. What about your own businesses, people who work in your company, maybe disgruntled employees that may have issues with an organization that could steal documents and sell company secrets and expose your particular business? The high-profile data breach underscores the importance of these documents and how they should be secured across the world. As a consequence of Teixeira's actions continue to unfold, it shares a striking reminder again that we need to be vigilant in all of our efforts to make sure that our documents are secured and protected. I have a story to show you to emphasize this point coming from CBS News.
Teixeira is an employee of the United States Air Force National Guard. FBI agents took Teixeira into custody earlier this afternoon without incident.
That was Attorney General Merrick Garland on the arrest of 21-year-old National Guard member Jack Teixeira Thursday. The DOJ says he is the man responsible for leaking dozens of classified documents in an online chat group. National Security Correspondent David Martin has more from the Pentagon.
The FBI put on a show of force to arrest a 21-year-old airman in the Massachusetts National Guard. He came out with his hands up in front of his childhood home south of Boston. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced the arrest.
Today, the Justice Department arrested Jack Douglas Teixeira in connection with an investigation into alleged unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information.
It came 1 week after the Pentagon first discovered some of its most highly classified documents posted on social media. Although the leak started last fall, when secrets first started showing up on a gaming platform called Discord.
However, it slowly spiraled into just intelligence about everything.
The Washington Post interviewed a teenage member of a small chat group on Discord who said the leaks began with text messages quoting from classified documents. And then, when no one seemed impressed, photographs of the actual documents.
It would appear as if he sort of grew angry with the fact that only one or two people were paying attention to these documents that he was pouring his heart out into. And as a sign of just anger, he just decided to post the full documents.
Glimpses of what lay beneath the documents, a countertop and a kitchen floor, matched photos of the inside of Teixeira's home, a digital trail which led the New York Times there ahead of the FBI. Teixeira was stationed at a base in Massachusetts, where live feeds from Air Force surveillance aircraft around the world are downloaded and analyzed. He worked with fiber optic cable and may have been able to monitor the network over which the classified documents flowed.
David Martin joins me now from the Pentagon. David, thanks for chatting with us. What have you learned about a possible motive?
Well, what we know about a motive comes primarily from an interview the Washington Post did with one of the video gamers who was in this chat group where these documents were circulating. And he said the person who posted these documents, he did not identify him by name, but now we have this arrest of Jack Teixeira as being the suspect of as the person who provided these documents online. But the way this video gamer, who was a teenager, described it to the Washington Post, the person who posted this was not a whistleblower trying to expose government wrongdoing. He said this person was thought that government overreached at times, and he cited Waco and Ruby Ridge. But he didn't think there was a vast conspiracy to deprive Americans of their civil liberties. And he seemed to just start putting this information up there just to show off. Hey, look what I've got access to. And he started by doing it not with the documents, but just by long quotations from the documents, which he had copied out and then sent out by text message. And then when that didn't seem to impress the other members of this chat group, which was a very small group, maybe 20 people, when nobody seemed impressed by that, that's when he started posting the documents. And that may have been his undoing, because in photographing the documents, he left a digital trail.
All right, David Martin, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
Folks, this recent case of Jack Teixeira with these documents that have leaked from the online chat service has highlighted again the need for businesses to prioritize cybersecurity processes within their organizations. As the digital landscape evolves, data breaches becoming more increasingly common and can have a severe consequences for businesses, including reputational damages, financial losses, and legal entanglements. Implementing robust cybersecurity measures is essential to safeguard sensitive data and mitigate cyber risk. Companies must adopt proactive approaches to data protection, ensuring that they have the necessary infrastructure, policies, and employee training in place to mitigate these types of threats. A comprehensive cybersecurity strategy includes regular risk assessments, securing your data storage, and strong encryption protocols. Businesses should also implement multi-factor authentication and access control, as well as limiting and restricting access to unauthorized individuals of sensitive information. Furthermore, maintaining the up-to-date hardware and software is critical in protecting against vulnerabilities and potential security breaches. Employee education is the next level, folks, that we recommend here in Cybersecurity Awareness TV, and all other cybersecurity professionals in the industry emphasize the importance it is to reinforcing the culture of cybersecurity awareness by providing regular training sessions for your employees, your individuals from top down, and encourage employees to stay informed of the latest threats, best practice, and businesses' policies and procedures or ways to mitigate these types of threats. Folks, there's a lot more that we can do to protect our infrastructure, and hackers are always trying to find vulnerabilities, even from within. This is also called the insider threat. There should be an insider threat policy within your organization. Even if you have 3 people in your company, you still should have an idea what an insider threat is. Just like the federal government, they have an insider threat policy, and that will give them the capabilities, that is, to find out who this person was who leaked the document. You need to have the same thing for your organization, folks. Please stand by. Join me in my next segment. We're going to talk to my guest, Lisa Desautels, will join me in talking about this Pentagon leak and ways you can protect your data and make sure that's managed correctly. We'll be back after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here #StayCyberWoke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back.
Hi, I'm George Miklos.
Hi, I'm Rick Upchurch.
Hi, I'm Aaron Phillips, and we are
The Round Table. Check us out.
Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time Live.
on Facebook page as well as WWDBTV.
Welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. In this segment, we will explore the topic of document management in the lieu of the recent data breaches that have happened all over the media. In today's digital age, businesses face an unprecedented cyber attacks with risk and threats when it comes to hackers. Hackers are always looking for ways to find out information about companies that they could steal from. Today, my guest and I will discuss document management security and the issues of data leaks and the security involving your particular organization. Lisa Desautels from Graphic Imaging Services, who I've been a friend with for a number of years here. Her and I will be discussing this data leak, and Lisa will be talking about her company, Graphic Imaging Services, here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and how her organization puts together documents and helps companies manage their particular paper documents digitally. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mac.
Great, glad you're here. So tell the audience a little bit about your business, and then we'll get into all the other seriousness about data breaches and data leaks.
Got it. So Graphic Imaging has been in business for about 25 years. The core competencies that we focused on were engineering drawings, documents, people staple things. And so getting that paper data, or what we call analog data, digital. And then, of course, getting the metadata to make it findable again in the various digital environments that we work in.
Like indexing.
Correct.
The data.
Creating that
Interesting.
database of information.
Interesting. So you're able to get to it easily.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Very good. So you help with companies that have thousands of pieces of paper data that could be lost in all the information that we're trying to track, right?
Correct. So, when you have paper data, it's susceptible to damage, theft, a number of different things. And so it's been my experience that if you can get it digital, then you have it secured, and you can disposition it at the appropriate time when it's no longer needed. And that's kind of a critical point for organizations to be able to manage their data.
Interesting. So in your business, what are some of the challenges that you face on trying to get companies to understand that their data needs to be condensed, digitized?
Well, they work with duplicate copies. They don't make good information choices because they don't have the right information. You might have one file in the cabinet, and somebody might have another copy on their computer that they generated, and so what you end up with is multiple copies with different revisions. So how do you make a good business decision when you don't know what the latest version is?
Good
if
point.
you create a single source of the truth, which would be putting it into a content management system, then you would actually have a better resource of information that would be more trusted.
Interesting. So some of the documents, let's talk about that. What are some of the documents that companies normally need to file and keep track of? We're talking, invoices or bills, or what kind of information?
So it can be, depending on the type of company, you might have manufacturing that has drawings, and then they're using a design build, or an architectural or engineering firm utilizing that kind of information. And so where is the latest version of it?
I see.
You might have HR with copies of I-9s. There's requirements for HR and the record retention there. You also have medical records that, some still have it on paper, even though there was a big push to go digital. Those documents, if you're under the age of 18, they still have a 7-year retention policy after the child turns 18. So you need to know how to manage the age of your patients in a medical system, whether it's digital or paper. Accounting, you have the IRS.
Yes.
We're close to tax day right now, so those things come into play. And how long do you keep those records? And there's the 3 years, there's the 7 years. You have to look at the retention policy of the document. And in order to do that, you need to classify what is the document type, and then that would tell you how long you need it.
So that's interesting. So what you've basically stated, you need to have a policy or a procedure, right, on how to maintain even your documents.
That is correct. Every organization and business has a various type of documents that they all manage. We all have accounting, we all have HR, but we don't all have engineering records. We don't all have, corporate policies that we put into place and things that involve various compliance requirements. And so depending on the organization determines what you actually need.
Interesting. Wow, very interesting. So in lieu of this incident that's happened in the news right now with this young military person working for the National Guard, what did you think about this story? He's 21, he has a security clearance, right? We talked about this a little earlier.
It's kind of crazy that you've got a 21-year-old who has access to information. There's ways to mitigate that and control that, and the fact that he's 21, he doesn't have a lot of experience in life about how to make good choices.
For a top level clearance.
And so why did that happen would be my first question.
Yes.
And of course, why are not precautions put in place to manage that data? Those things exist inside content management systems where you can allow authorization based upon the login user at the PC level, as well as the document management solution as well. So those are just layers of protection that we have when we implement a true content management system. But why there wasn't one, that's a really good question.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see how the investigation, how it goes, but there should be more of investigation of how he was able to get this type of security clearance and have access to the data.
We see that a lot in government, okay? We have the executive branch taking documents home.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Why were military records available in a hard copy format? That's questionable as well.
Yes.
So my concern is, why is there not something managing this data at the very basis? Because it's a layer of protection. There's multiple layers that you can have that involve encryption, workflow processes.
Oh, well, you're right, absolutely.
So
yes,
definitely should be some things in place there.
Yes, policy, procedures, and alike. So far as, now that was the government, but if we look at the public sector, they could have a similar issue. You mentioned architects, engineers, if they have their graphic documentation if it's not secured, they can have an employee steal that information data and share it with others as well, right?
That's correct. So in a paper format, you don't know who's had access.
Right.
When you have it in a digital format in a document management system, there are certain packages out there that provide you what we call an audit trail. So it can tell you everybody who's accessed the document, which, you can drill down to a certain level, and whether they have just read-write privileges or if they have access to check the document out. There's a number of things that go on with that.
Interesting. So for this particular individual, what the story was that he was working on a forum, an online forum, I think it's called Discord, where mainly gamers play, and he got these documents and he wanted to show his friends on the actual site, but none of the people on there were interested because they were basically younger folks.
Probably didn't understand the nature of the documents
Understand the nature of what they were looking at and how important the information was. And once that didn't happen, he didn't get a response that he wanted. I understand that he then took pictures of the documents from his kitchen counter at home, and that allowed the FBI and, of course, others to track him down because the photos leave meta tags, GPS locations. And there was a news company, I think it was New York Times or one of them, able to use that in order to find him before the actual feds got a hold of him.
Right.
Yeah, so that goes to tell you, and we can make a link there to Facebook when people are using their phones to take selfies of themselves in their house and stating that they're getting ready to go on vacation, and they have pictures of their children, and they're uploading these photos online. Those photos have meta tags there, and they can give information about who they are and their location. So they should not do those things,
It makes sense. I mean, metadata is data about data, and
Right.
we can't find anything if we don't apply metadata to our information.
Right.
If it's a PDF document or a photo, we don't know, and it's convenient for us when we're on our phone. If you think about it,
Right.
we have a phone, and we're like, "Show me all the pictures when I was in Hawaii."
Right.
All right, and so
Right.
it's easy to find on our phone, but it makes it easy to find for others as well. So-
Absolutely. Absolutely. So some of the industries, Lisa, what are some of the industries besides engineering and architects, do you think that is important to have their data secured, besides healthcare as well?
Well, obviously legal.
Oh, yeah.
Any industry, to be quite honest with you, if you think about it.
Good point. Yeah.
Any business, whether you're an alarm door company, you're a service provider, you're a casino, it's any organization that has records, which is everybody. So it's not really limiting, and everybody has different requirements based on their own business and what they provide in terms of service. If you think about just, for example, certain floor plans of certain organizations, let's say a utility company,
Good point.
okay?
Okay.
They have information that becomes highly sensitive in a terrorist environment, all right?
Good
The
point.
ability, both water, gas, and power, those organizations actually have key information that could be detrimental to the public. So in a public safety environment, you've got to make sure that those things aren't accessible.
And they can protect that data by having the correct software that can digitize the data and have it digitized and protected against unauthorized users, you're saying?
Right. So digitizing is just one part of it. The other parts that we talk about, which are the key to the whole searchability, findability of our records, is that you have metadata. And if I know that it's an architectural plan done in 1990 for this location, I can find it. That's key for us to be able to retrieve the information. The difference is that who has access to it.
Right.
All right. And so making sure that you have it, if it needs encryption based on the information, or even in the content management system, that it's got the security precautions of who has access and read-write privileges. If they can view, they can't print, but people will come up and use a phone and take a picture of it now. So it really
Yes, absolutely.
has to be, something that who has access to the information and whether they should have access.
That's a good point. And I'm glad you guys are listening to what Lisa's saying here, because I've mentioned this in our show all the time. When it comes to your passwords and you're writing data down, your passwords on a piece of paper, and you have your piece of paper laying on your desk, it can be compromised, as simple as if someone with a smartphone can take a picture image of it. It's best to have those particular passwords in a password management system and give you the extra layer of protection. But this goes back to what we talked about, Lisa, the human factor, right? So we can have all the most sophisticated software put in place, content management software. We have our rules, and policies, procedures. All it takes is the human factor, someone at the human level, to compromise the systems.
It is, and I think the key for that is having the appropriate workflows in place, so that it's processed a certain way. That you're not storing your information on your local C drive when you're curating it.
Good point.
We live in a world where we have an exponential growth of information right now, and if we could just harness that information for business value, we could gain predictive insights about how our customers are operating and where potential growths are. But if they don't put that information in, and you can't leverage that information for good business decisions. I think that's the first part of it. Having content management to provide the security is just another layer of and value of what we do in terms of content and capturing information.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. So what happens to the actual paper once it is scanned? What happens to the original?
Well, we have a lot of paper hoarders, right?
That's right.
People don't like to let go of their paper.
Yes,
They don't, and until they know they can trust it, they'll still try to keep a copy in a secure location in storage. Once they're comfortable with it, then we start seeing them shred, and then they kind of let it go, and then they start doing more and more and more. So.
Okay, so they take the paper, they digitize it, then put it in storage, and once they feel more comfortable with it, they can let some of this paper to be shredded, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what happens then to the digital information? How is it protected, making sure it doesn't go obsolete?
So, in the industry right now, we see the formats, which are a big issue. Those formats, we've seen it standardized with the Adobe PDF.
Okay.
And so everybody has a viewable, they can view for free the Adobe Acrobat and look at the document. There's a thing called PDFA, which is a format that means it's a true archive of the actual record. So putting it in a PDFA format would be one way to ensure that it's not modified when you put it into a content management system.
That's a really good point. So that was my next question for you. How do you know that original is in fact, original?
Well, and again, content management provides you revision control, kind of like engineers do with their documents. We have different designs, and we're at revision 5 now because the client didn't like whatever it was that the design was. But that's how you keep track of it, is by revision control. So
very good. Yes.
Check in, check out too. That's the other
check
component.
in, check out. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
so that nobody else is working on the same document as you until you're through with it.
And also, let's talk about redundancy of backups.
Correct. Well, so you have redundancy in backups, and then you have people that have duplicate copies. So they might have a paper version and a digital version that they put into the content management system, but there's 2 different sources. So knowing where your information comes from, I think, is critical as well.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. And of course, if it's in your location or by a third-party company, right, handling it.
Correct.
So you have a thing called transfer of risk. Are you saying, let's have someone take care of this stuff in the cloud, but you're still responsible for it as well if something goes wrong with it, right?
Right. That can always be a challenge as well. I think that, when you're looking at that, I have clients that are very emphatic on keeping their data behind their own firewall versus put it in the cloud. They're good.
Right.
And, it just depends on who it is. I think about it, too, because, depending on the client, they could have, it might be a very large casino property, for example.
Right.
And they have the firewall and they have access via a web address to get the information that you're looking for. Say it's a blueprint or something like that.
Right.
So they would have web access on their own server to get that information. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it kind of routes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And wow, yeah. Like we tell our clients and our audience as well, if you have a third-party entity monitoring your data, you're still responsible for that data. And if that third party has a data breach, it can affect your business as well. Even though you had nothing to do with it, it's a third party's fault, you're still responsible for that data. So you need to have a backup plan. We talk to our clients about having, of course, redundancies, but also fire drills.
Right.
Yeah, and talk about business
test.
continuity, testing it. What happens if your data is lost? How long will it take you to be back up and running again if all your data was stolen or if there was a fire or something? A lot of times, customers would speculate for insurance purposes of this happening, but never going through the exercise. They're saying, well, theoretically, this is what we could do.
Right.
If they can document it and go through the exercise, they would find out other areas they may not be aware of that they're missing. Right?
Correct. Until you actually suffer a loss,
Yeah.
you don't actually know.
Right.
So, what's the value of your data? And, I think corporate America has actually determined that, data is actually a business asset.
It really is. It's really, the companies are realizing it. But again, having it digitized, you can't really see it versus paper document, you have it in your hand, right?
Right. Well, there was a study done by Price Waterhouse years ago, and it established that a 4-drawer lateral file cabinet costs $2,150 a year to let it sit in your office space.
Wow, really?
So depending on how many file cabinets you have, I talked to a client the other day and they had 74. And those 74 file cabinets were actually costing them $156,000 a year just to store them. But it would only cost them $120,000 to get it scanned and digitized into a database that they could actually retrieve it. So
Wow, that is amazing. That's actually cheaper to actually have the document scanned and stored and filed away than it is to have it sitting in a file cabinet.
When you actually start learning, 3% of all documents are effectively misfiled and they're gone. All right, that's another one. It takes an architect or engineer 4.5 weeks a year to look for paper drawings. So if they still have paper in their office, you start adding up billable hours, and that becomes very expensive.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Interesting, Lisa. This is really interesting. I also want to harken back to a story that happened a few months ago relating to this young person that went in and did their little damage to the Pentagon. There was another young individual. This one was about 18. Was a hacker that hacked into an employee of Uber. You may have heard of the Uber attack. And once he was able to get access into the Uber server, and he was made a lateral move from the employee that he hacked into, got into the AWS. And once he was able to get in there, he was able to grab documents relating to the salaries of the employees and what people are making there and their financial information. And then he took it and posted on the forum and said he did it. So it wasn't like he was a hacker looking for ransomware or looking to blackmail the company. He just did it because he could. And again, being very young and naive and not seeing the power he had in his hand, he should have contacted the authorities and the owners of the company and let him know that, hey, I found a vulnerability in your system. He could have been the hero.
Could have been.
Could have been the hero. But now he's going to be up on charges, another person.
Yeah. And again, that's the same thing as having your data secure, and how secure is it? If you don't know, having it tested for sure.
Yes, that's the key role there. You'll get with a consultant, and they'll say your data's tested, your data's secured. We'll sign off on it with a contract that it's secured, but we're suggesting testing it, going through a fire drill, and to make sure that you have correct business continuity processes in place. Right, Lisa?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us today. Any other words? Tell our audience how to get a hold of you about your products and services that you offer for your business.
Absolutely. Well, you can reach out to us at graphicimaging.net, and we'll have the phone number. You can email us. And we list all the things that we do. We provide services that we use. I guess our key phrase is we use what we sell what we use, and we fix it. So that's it. It's content management software, document imaging services, and hardware and software solutions to capture your own content. That's it.
Very good. Well, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being part of Cybersecurity Awareness TV, and we'll hope you have you on our show again. We'll talk about other news and events that are around the world that affects data security and ways we can protect yourselves. So, folks, thank you for joining us here this week on Cybersecurity Awareness TV. And as we say every week, #Stay Cyberwoke, folks. Take care.